Welcome back into Boston has entered the chat. Adam Kaufman, Travis Thomas here inside our Salem 5 studios. Now, the Red Sox season has come and gone.
Ugh.
You know, it hurt.
I was riding so high.
It was just losing to that team.
Yeah.
Like, watching the Blue Jays beat the hell out of the Yankees is not only satisfying, but it's also like, okay.
Just shellacking
like,
them,
it's
too.
like, would this have been the Sox? I don't know. I think they matched up okay against the Blue Jays. But it's not so much that you lost in the wild card. It's who you lost to. 89 and 73, though. Wild card berth, nonetheless, for this team. Now we're in the off season.
Yeah.
I know Christmas is in December, but we already have wish lists for this team. We also have a call. I always say to call us, get in here. The number's at the bottom of the screen. Call us, tell us your wish list for the Red Sox off season. Here's a fan with his.
Even though the season ended the way it did, I think for the off season, the Red Sox need to try and go out, pick up some starting pitching, maybe Joe Ryan. Maybe get rid of Casas and try and pick up Pete Alonso, who's now a free agent. What's your thoughts?
I actually love that wish list. Mine is the same, just a slightly longer. Retain Bregman, Trevor Story, and Giolito, who all have opt-outs.
All of them.
You got to figure that out, okay? Sign Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber, either one. That's a guy I thought should have never left.
Sure.
He should have still
Kyle
been here
from
with the
Waltham.
Bro, he should have never left, and we all know it. But there's a chance to go get him. He's a free agent. So I like Pete Alonso or him. You need a big, burly man with a bat. That's what you need in this lineup. Both of them fit that description. I love trading for Joe Ryan. This team was in love with that at the trade deadline. They couldn't get it done. Do it this offseason. Get it done by any means necessary. Here's one that I like, too. I'd kick the tires on. I think you can get him at a decent price. I would kick the tires on Shane Bieber as well. If you could pull this off, I just wrote this down just to bring it to you. Crochet's your one. Joe Ryan is a true number 2.
Oh, without a doubt.
You do not lose to the Yankees if you have Joe Ryan pitching.
Joe Ryan's a 1 in a lot of places.
That's right.
Yeah, for you, he'd be a 2.
For us, he'd be a 2. So Crochet is your ace. Joe Ryan. I'm not giving up on Brian Bayo.
No.
I like Bayo a lot more as a 3 than I do a 2.
Oh, Bayo's. You'd be excited about Bayo being a 3.
So I'm going Crochet, Joe Ryan, Bayo, Shane Bieber, Giolito, whoever, and then Conley early.
Okay.
That's a pretty damn good rotation.
It's a great rotation.
And early just picked up some postseason experience as well.
Yeah.
So my wish list,
nice
you
to
say
see.
what?
Guy was in the majors for 25 days or whatever it was, including a postseason
And I thought he
start.
pitched well against the Yankees. His defense let him down.
Defense was bad. And the offense, even if the defense wasn't that bad, which obviously it was.
No run support.
The offense was non-existent. They had like a hit.
That's right.
You know, so it's, look, you can go up and down the wish list as you put together, and I think it's a really solid one, but I think elements of it are probably unrealistic. Like, I don't think Giolito is back. I'd be a little surprised if he's back. You know, this latest elbow injury, obviously, he was kind of up and down his time with the Red Sox anyway. I know he was good throughout, you know, there was a really solid couple-month stretch there late in the regular season. He was a big help toward getting you where you were and getting into the wild card round and, you know, threatening for a little while for the division and all of it. But I do think you need to address that rotation, to your point, with whether it's Joe Ryan, and obviously this is a guy that they targeted at the trade deadline, couldn't acquire him. Like, that's the dream. You'd love to get Joe Ryan in here. But if it's not Joe Ryan, some other non-Giolito veterans that you could look at.
Sure.
Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, guys like that. Shane Bieber, as you mentioned as well. But there are just issues throughout this team that, you know, we're getting nitpicky because we are talking about, as you said, an 89-win team, a good win team that, you know, a year ago at this time, you would have said, okay, they still got a ways to go. Maybe they could be a playoff team. We'll see. But they're still like, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this.
Still more pieces.
But this is now, I mean, you are not far off from being a contender in the American League with the right moves.
Yeah.
You have money to spend. Obviously, that's, you know, that you could, if you can lure Kyle Schwarber from Philly. Now, the Phillies may not let him leave.
Right.
But obviously, we know that he's been here. He's performed on this stage. Big moments. Loved it. Absolutely. Like, that's perfect fit. Pete Alonso, who obviously you brought up, the caller brought up, he's a guy that major market experience, solid season with the Mets, Doesn't look like he's going to be back there. He's
Durable.
30 years old, generally durable. Obviously, he can hit the home runs. Home runs, real issue for the Red Sox. They were middle of the pack in the major leagues, I think 15th in the majors. Not even 2 home runs hit as a team. You need to address that.
They blame him for everything in New York, too, where here he can just be one of the guys. Valuable, don't get me wrong, but we're not going to blame Pete Alonso for the world's problems like they do in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just think about the roster in general. And there's a lot to be excited about with the youth. You get back a healthy Roman Anthony, and I can't even understand, because we're not talking about like prime years Mike Trout here. I don't understand how your entire offense falls apart when you lose one rookie who's barely been in the majors, but obviously tore it up when he was available to you. But nevertheless, you get back Roman Anthony. You look at Marcelo Meyer, Connolly Early, Cedon Rafaela, Peyton Tolley. There's a lot of promise in Peyton Tolley there. Whether it's a starter or a reliever, we'll find out. We'll see if there's anything in Christian Campbell. They paid him. These are all guys that are under 25 years old. And even if you want to include Carlos Narvaez, Wilyer Abreu, Tristan Casas, I'm not sure Casas is going to be back, but these guys, they're all, 26 years old. There's a lot of good youth, far from prime years experience, a lot of homegrown guys on this roster that should be part of the next great Red Sox core. It's about surrounding them, though, with the right pieces. Again, improving that rotation, maybe some middle innings bullpen improvement, because between Whitlock, Chapman, who's re-signed, your back end is great. You got to figure out some of the middle innings. Again, this lineup just way too much offensive inconsistency throughout last year when you didn't have, again, Roman Anthony. You got to shore up the defense. The defense, again, reared its ugly head at the worst possible time, but it was the major's worst defense last year. Terrible defense. Some of the base running issues, there are just these areas, Travis, that you got to button up. But the talent is there. You just got to go out and acquire a couple of guys to put you over the hump.
I made a joke after Game 3, the loss to the Yankees, that this team needs to spend the offseason in Baseball Fundamentals 101 and read every page. It's a joke. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it's also true. And I don't know if it's acquiring the players defensively as much as it is just changing the mentality and figuring out these fundamentals for this team, because fundamentally this was a bad baseball team. I'm with you in terms of, look, I would even go bold here and to say this is the most important offseason for this team in many moons.
Obviously
they're
for Craig Breslow, it's a
big
one.
They're right there. But here's the other thing I think we have to talk about. We're talking about all these free agents and possible trades in the offseason. The trade deadline is also on my wish list, too. This team needs to be a lot, not a little, a lot more aggressive at the trade deadline. But I am encouraged with the words from Sam Kennedy just a few days ago when he said, listen, this championship window's wide open. We're thinking about the next decade for this team. That's great news, because I do believe the championship window started to crack open this season, and now it's wide open. But you only get there, Adam, if you have a big offseason this offseason.
Yeah, and they're just, again, you brought up a couple of the names. There are just questions that exist right now. We don't know if Alex Bregman is going to be back. This is a guy who has an opt-out in his contract. He's got 2 years, $80 million overall left on that deal if he were to continue to return. I know there have been the reports. We've talked about it. Could he opt out, look for a $150 million deal, be it back with Boston or elsewhere? He's a champion. He's a veteran leader. He's a great clubhouse presence. He's popped from the right side of the plate. He's also about to be 32 years old and was terrible last month or so of the regular season, and not so great in the playoffs as well. So you worry about, clearly he was injured, but how is that going to age? Trevor Story, I know everyone wants to say MVP of last year, and I'm not sure I fully agree with that. But
Roman
still,
Anthony for me, or Garrett Crochet.
He was great. There's no question. But how long did it take him to be great in a Red Sox uniform with all of those injuries? So I don't know. I'm not necessarily in a hurry to bring him back with the 2 years at 25 per that he's got left on that deal. I wouldn't be upset if Trevor Story moved on. If you got value, obviously, if there were a trade situation, or even if he did opt out, but you use that money and bring in somebody a little bit younger, a little bit more durable who makes sense. We haven't even brought up Jarren Duran. Do you think Jarren Duran's back here next season? Because I don't. You got too many bodies in the outfield, man. Like, you got Roman Anthony, you got Rafaela, you got Abreu. That's your outfield. And you also have other guys that you'd like to kind of maybe pencil in from time to time as well. You can't have 4 guys that you want to play every day. And Duran, the way that the defensive lapses, some of the effort inconsistencies in the outfield, the way that he just offensively disappeared down the stretch and in the playoffs. And, you know, I know he's a popular teammate and guy in the clubhouse and all of that stuff, but you got to cut bait somewhere. And I wouldn't be disappointed to see him move along as well. But to your overarching point about the importance of trade deadline, offseason, like get to the trade deadline and be a contender at that point in time, or be positioned to be a contender at that point first. This is a monumentally important offseason.
It definitely is. Great word. Listen, I think about the Jarren Duran trade rumors back at the trade deadline. You remember this? The report that
he was basically a Padre or
for
a
Dylan Cease. And Cease pitched excellent in the playoffs. I think this was one of those situations where the Red Sox gambled. And I understood it at the time. I actually defended them. I said, listen, Jarren Duran's your leader. He's your spark plug. He's an energy guy in your clubhouse. And they gambled on keeping that, which was smart. And that team was galvanized at that time. Remember, you had just got rid of Devers. It made a lot of sense. But in the end, I think with what we saw, what you just laid out with the playoff sort of performance or lack thereof from Jarren Duran, I think the writing might be on the wall there. But let me go back to Dylan Cease. He's a free agent. That's another name. I mean, we didn't really bring him up, but that's another guy now. Maybe you didn't trade for him when you had the chance, allegedly, but you can go sign him now. So regardless of whatever happens with Jarren Duran, there are guys out there to be had for this Red Sox team. Go do it. Go spend the money. I was encouraged last offseason, even though they didn't get him, they were in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. They made a real pitch at him. Now, some of that is like, okay, you roll your eyes, it's Juan Soto, but it just shows the ownership is willing to spend the money, and I like that.
Yeah, I just don't need the like, people like to mock the whole interest king stuff. Like, they're in on every guy, that sort of thing. Now, people had to bite their tongue with some of that last year with, obviously, the addition of Bregman and paying him, and that infamous shot of John Henry on the yacht with the cigar and all that stuff. Like, great. Let's see more of that, because you trade away Rafael Devers, which I was not opposed to, by the way, at the time. I don't think, you know, and they were generally better without him. I don't think he was a great fit. The problem is you didn't get anything for him.
Right.
So, fine, you were able to get that whole big chunk of money back. You got the bag back that you had given him. Now go use it elsewhere and find a guy that does fit.